first of all, I would like to thank the organizer to give me this opportunity to talk in this workshop. So it is my great pleasure to see all of you online. Today I will talk about evolution, game theory, and the evolution of cooperation. Okay, so first I will talk about cooperative behavior. The winner take it all. So this is a song by the band Akbar. Okay, so I love this song very much. And as you, I don't know, many of you know the song. It also appears in one movie. I love this song very much, and in particular the lyrics of this song. The lyrics, because I can see game theory in this song. Okay, I play all my cards, and that's what you done too. Okay, nothing more to say. No more ace to play. The winner take it all. Okay, so I love it because I can see a lot of game theory in this. So the winner take it all. Actually, that idea had been known long before. In the famous Darwin natural selection, it is the theory of the survival of the fittest. That's the individuals who are best adapted to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce. So this is the famous natural selection by the British biologist Charles Darwin. Okay, so we see that winner have many advantages, right? So in a typical combat between animals of the same species, the winner gain a lot of things. They gain mates, they gain dominant right, they gain desirable territory, and many other advantages. Okay, so the natural selection suggests that the battle would be fierce and deadly. They might fight each other fiercely and even until some of them are dead. Okay, however, that is not what we observe in the natural. In the nature, we observe many ritualized behavior in animals. So, for instance, in the pictures here, you see on the left that two antelope, they kneel down to fight each other. Okay, they do not use their dangerous horn. Okay, on the right hand side, as you see, two snakes. They are wrestled in fighting. Okay, they do not use their most dangerous weapon, which is their tongue in the fight. Okay, they are actually fighting. We also see altruism and cooperation. Okay, so both altruism and cooperation refer to the act of paying a cost in order to convey a benefit to someone else. Okay, so this seem also against natural selection, right? Because you pay a cost for the benefit of someone else. Okay, for instance, you see meerkat here, they standing to make a safeguard for the whole group, and ant here, they are working together to build bridge. You see, though in the middle, they are in a very dangerous position, right? But they cooperate together to make a bridge. And as human, we often donate to charity to help people that we even don't know. Okay, so cooperation is very important, and actually it is very essential for populations to develop to new levels of organization. Okay, so the question of understanding how did cooperation behavior evolve, actually it is a long-standing grand challenge in science. Okay, it's listed as one of the most challenging questions that we face by the journal Science in 2005. Many research have been done, but it is still a very challenging question. We still do not yet fully understand how did cooperation evolve, because it seems again the natural selection of Darwin. Okay, So I mentioned many research have been done and many mechanisms for evolution have been introduced. Okay, so the most popular one are the so-called 5 rules for the evolution of cooperation, which is introduced by Lovac. So there are 5 mechanisms. So they are skin selection. Okay, that means people have other people in the family. Okay, direct reciprocity. That means I help you and you help me. Okay, indirect reciprocity, that means I help you and someone will help me. Okay, so that is indirect relation. Network reciprocity, that means people in the same network help each other. Group selection, that means people in the same group, for instance neighbor, they help each other. Okay, we call it internal mechanism for evolution of cooperation because they happen within their own populations. There is another very important one that is internal institutional incentives. That is, there is an external decision maker. For instance, the UN or EU that have a budget to interfere in the population to achieve a desirable outcome. Okay, so 2 types of mechanisms for evolution of cooperation, internal and external. In this talk, I will talk about the external one, institutional incentive. Okay, so institutional incentive, and I mentioned that there is an external decision maker that interferes in population to achieve a desirable outcome. Okay, for instance, we want the level of cooperation is sufficiently large. Okay, so this is a very important mechanism for evolution of cooperation because this enables large-scale cooperation. The internal mechanism I mentioned earlier, they are only for small populations. Okay, this institutional incentive enables large-scale cooperation. A huge number of people or population can cooperate each other. Okay, however, this process is costly. It's expensive to provide incentive because this might take human resources and equipment, for instance. Okay, so in this picture, you see here that the United Nations interfere in some war. Okay, and on the right hand side, we see that a human we interfere into biological system to maintain, for instance, biodiversity. Okay, so because it is very costly, it is very important to ask the question how to minimize the cost while ensuring a sufficient level of cooperation. Okay, so that is the question that our research will focus on. Okay, can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, so this is a very important question, how to minimize the cost while ensuring a sufficient level of cooperation. Okay, so my research focus on this question. There are many work on this question. There are a large body of literature on the evolution of cooperation on network, but it lacks a study of external interference mechanism. Okay, and how to do it more effectively. Okay, there are some work on institutional incentive mechanisms. They study also external decision maker, but they do not consider cost efficiencies. Okay, there is also a huge literature on decision making and mechanism design, which consider cost efficient, but do not consider population dynamic. I will mention it later. Okay, recently there are also paper they consider cost efficient in incentive in infinite population. Okay, without no mutation. the most relevant papers by Han and Chen, they consider cost-efficient incentive in finite population, but they only provide numerical investigation. So our research will provide a rigorous analysis of cost efficiency of institutional incentive for finite population using evolutionary game theory. Okay, we use the framework of evolutionary game theory to study this question. Okay, so in the next few slides, I will briefly introduce you to the theory of evolutionary game theory. Okay, so evolutionary game theory. So you might you might guess from the name of this theory that it is a combination of two theories. Evolutionary theory by Charles Darwin that I mentioned earlier, okay, and combined with game theory, okay. Many leading scientists contribute to this theory. Here I mentioned John Nash, who obtained a Nobel Prize in economics for his work on this contribution, okay, this direction. And you might have known him from a movie, very beautiful movie, A Beautiful of Mind. Okay, so evolution game theory were introduced by two people, George Wright and John Maynard Smith, in 1973 by combining the evolution theory by Charles Darwin and game theory. Okay, so they combine two theories together to make a new theory. Okay, so you might ask, what is the difference between classical game theory and evolutionary game theory? The key difference between the two theories is that in evolutionary game theory, the players are rational. Okay, they think, they anticipate what the opponent will do, and they make their choice, they make their decision based on what other player do. Okay, which is very different from evolutionary game theory, where the player, they do not think. Okay, they are not rational players. The key driving force in evolutionary game theory is natural selection. Okay, that is the mechanism that drives the evolution. Okay, that is the fundamental difference between game theory and evolutionary game theory. Okay, so now I will introduce the model of population that we study. Okay, so we consider a well mix. Well mix, that means everyone will meet everyone else equally. Okay, so that is very well mixed. Finite population of n individuals. Okay, so they are interacting with other people using a cooperation dynamics. Okay, I will explain two cooperation dilemma later on. Okay, so each players can be either a cooperator. Okay, so they will pay something, and a defector. Okay, we consider small mutation, that is the state space of the population. Can be models a Markov chain of n plus 1 states, S0, S1, and up to Sn. Okay, so where Sj represent a population with J cooperator, okay, and N minus J defector. Okay, so it just depends on the number of cooperator in the population. Okay, and they will use either cooperator and defector, and they change during the evolution. Okay, they update their strategy during the evolution. Okay, they update the strategy using the so-called Fermi strategy update rule. Okay, so a player X with fitness Fx will adopt the strategy of another player Y with fitness Fi with a probability given by this formula. Okay, so you see that depend on the difference between the finish of two players. One might mimic the other player strategies. Okay, so there is a very important parameter here, beta, which is the intensity of selection. You see that beta multiply by the difference of the payoff of the finish. Okay, so it characterize how much games affect evolution process. Okay, so here we consider two cooperation dynamics. The first one is the so-called donation games. Okay, in donation games, cooperator offer another other player a benefit B at a personal cost C. Okay, so cooperator pay a cost C that give a benefit B to other players. Okay, so that's very clear. And a defector offer nothing. Okay, defector do not offer anything. Okay, so we can clearly see that via this the so-called payoff matrix, right? You see that if a player, if a cooperator interact with a cooperator, each of them will often B minus C, right? Because they often B from the other cooperator, but they themselves have to pay a cost C. Okay, is that clear? Yeah. And if a cooperator meet a defector, then they do not get anything, but they lose minus C, right? Because that is the cost that they pay. Okay. On the other hand, if a defector meet a cooperator, then they just got the benefit B. Okay. And if a defector meet another defector, they do not get anything, right? Because there's no contribution. Okay, so that is the donation games. 2x2 people or 2x2 games. Okay, so the public good games is a generalization of this to multiplayer games. Okay, so people in a group, they decide either to cooperate or defect. Okay, if you cooperate, you pay an amount C to the common pool. Okay, and defector do not contribute anything. Very similar to the above. Okay, so the total contribution will be multiplied by a factor R and then divide equally to all people in the group. Okay, whether regardless of whether they are cooperator or not. Okay, so you see that in both games, it is always better to defect, right? Because you do not contribute anything, but you get some benefit from operator. Okay, so these are typical example to show that cooperation is not free. Okay, there must be some mechanism to support cooperation. Okay, so that what we study. We study one mechanism which is institutional incentive. Okay, so this is the mechanism. It is very simple. Okay, it is very natural. Okay, so the investment policy is that we consider the population. Okay, wherever there are K players, then we make a total investment theta K. Okay, so that is the external decision maker. They invest theta K to the population that consists of KC players. Okay, we often consider the so-called per capita investment. That means we equally divide theta K to the number of cooperator. Okay, so everyone will got an amount of theta K. Okay, so we distinguish between two mechanisms. The first one is to reward. Okay, so that means cooperator payoff will increase by theta. Okay, so we reward a cooperator. And another the punishment incentive. That means we will punish defector. We will reduce defector payoff by an amount theta. Okay, or sometimes we can combine reward and placement together. Okay, so depend on whichever strategy the incentive is cheaper. Okay, so you may heard of this strategy via carrot and stick. Okay, so based on that, we write down a formulation to calculate the cost of incentive. Okay, so this is the cost. You simply sum up on the cost that you invest in each step. Okay, and we want to attain at least some a fraction of cooperation. Okay, so the question is that we want to minimize the cost to obtain at least some amount of some level of cooperation. Okay, so we have a constraint optimization problem. Minimize it cost function under this constraints. Okay, so that is the main mathematical formula problem that we want to study. Okay, so next we will show you how we study these constraints optimization problems. Okay, I mentioned here two main theorems that we often. The first one, which is very interesting, that shows that there is a phase transition phenomena. Okay, so they exceed a threshold value beta star. As you remember, beta is the intensity of selection. Okay, such that the function e of theta is always non-decreasing for all beta which is less than beta star, and non-monotonic when beta is bigger than beta star. Okay, so beta star, you see that the behavior of the cost function change when you change beta. Okay, and beta star is the critical threshold. It behaves very differently when beta is less than or equal to beta star, and when beta is bigger than beta star. Okay, so that's why we call it a phase transition phenomena. The behavior are very different under two regimes. Okay, so of course for beta less than beta star, we can easily solve the optimization problem, right? Because it is non-decreasing, so the minima is simply obtained at theta 0. Okay, the lower bound. And we also want to study the cost, the minimization problem when the threshold is bigger than beta star. Okay, so we show that for beta bigger than beta star and sufficiently small population, then we can show that they exceed theta 1 and theta 2 such that E theta increasing, okay, and decreasing and increasing again. Okay, so we also can understand the behavior of the cost function for this regime for sufficiently small population. Okay, and we also compare the cost function for reward and placement. Yeah, so from this formula we see that reward is more more efficient when theta is small enough. Okay, when and placement is more efficient when theta is bigger than minus delta. Okay, and based on this we can also compare the optimal values between reward and placement. Okay, so I will show you in the next slide. I will show you some numerical simulation that will demonstrate our theorem much more easier to observe. Okay, so this figure, this slide shows you the behavior of the cost function, and okay, and shows you the phase transition phenomena that I mentioned earlier in the first theorem. Okay, so you see that as on the left, on the figure on the left hand side, you see that this is for beta equal to 1. and the cost function always increasing. Okay, and you increase beta, so here beta equal to 5, you see that the function start to change, right? So it's still increasing. Okay, and the critical threshold here is 5.752. Okay, so here we take beta equal to 5, slightly smaller than beta star. Okay, now we take beta equal to 10, which is much bigger than beta star. Then you see that the cost function, they first increasing, okay, decreasing, and then increasing again. This is exactly we saw in the first theorem. Okay, so similarly here we consider for a bigger population when n equal to 50. Okay, n is a population size, and the corresponding beta star is 3.039. So you see similar behavior. It always increasing when beta is smaller than beta star. Okay, and increasing, decreasing, and increasing again when beta is bigger than beta star. Okay, so that is a phase transition phenomena for the cost function depending on the values of beta. Okay, here we compare the cost of reward and placement. Okay, the blue one is reward and red one is placement. We see that, you can see that initially, right, it is better yeah, please, it is better to reward, right? When there is less cooperation, it is better to reward, right? Because reward will increase cooperation, okay? But when there is sufficient cooperator, it is better to punish, because that is to remain the level of cooperation in the population. Okay, so this figure demonstrates the second theorem that I showed earlier. So this is a conference about algorithm. So we do provide an algorithm to find the critical threshold beta star behavior of the cost function. Okay, so there is a different of payoff. We call it delta. So it depends on the game. We have different formula for delta. Okay, and then we compute z low about theta 0. Okay, from this. Then we compute another quantity which is we call f star, which is a minimum of a function of a polynomial f under some constraint. Okay, so it also depends on whether you reward or punishment. Okay, so where f, p, and f hat and p hat are polynomials with explicit formulas. Okay, and then beta star is simply minus of f star divided by delta. Okay, so we have algorithm to compute beta star. Okay, so to summarize, in this talk, we introduce the problems of the study of the problem cost-effective interference mechanism for population of corporations. Okay, we provide rigorous analysis for this problem. Okay, we study some asymptotic limit of the population and of the cost function, and so the phase transition phenomena. Okay, in the future, we would like to generalize this work to more complicated situation when the mutation is big. Okay, here we assume small mutation, but mutation can be significant. Okay, we also want to consider more complex evolutionary models, for instance, multi-population, random games, and a population with structures. Okay. With that, I would like to thank you for the attention.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hong, for the nice presentation. Maybe we can have one or two quick questions. over time. I think Teresa had a question in the chat.
Yes.
No, I had a question, but I think it's already kind of answered. I wanted to ask if is there any practical experiment where you can replicate this kind of behavior? Have you seen whether your studies agree with what happened in practice?
So here we study from theoretical point of view, but some of my colleagues they do use it framework, for instance, in very recent application in AI. Okay, AI competition. How they because how AI companies they compete with each other. Okay, and how the government interfere to support that. Okay, they use it as STEAM theory, but they use it framework to answer that question. Okay, so not practical, not yet used anywhere, but they do use it framework to study very practical problems. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And have you done simulations of the same problem and see if they match with your theoretical results?
Yes, that is the two slides that contain simulation results. We saw that we observe. I mean, what we observe is in agreement with theoretical analysis.
Okay, there is one question in the chat from Mashan. Yeah.
So the question is, what can be some insight from evolutionary game theory that could help in developing strategies to modulate the different diseases for better health outcomes?
Okay, this is also very interesting question. There are literatures using evolution game theory in healthcare system. Okay, so in healthcare system, for instance, a healthcare system often contain public sector, private sector, and the user. Right, there are three populations, and they do interact and compete with each other. Okay, so some people using this framework of evolutionary game theory to study healthcare system, for instance, healthcare system to treat a disease. Okay, they study the interaction between different sectors in the healthcare system. Okay, for instance, private sector, public sector, and the user, the patient. Okay, that is the simplest model. Of course, in reality, there are more sectors that interact with each other, but three of them are the core sectors that we should take into account when introducing a model for healthcare system.
Okay, so I think we should now move to the next speaker.